What do you think people should know about like the differences between tobacco itself and nicotine? Because I know that like if people know that I have like a nicotine pouch in or one of your nicotine mints in, they're like, oh, does that cause cancer? Does that not cause cancer? There's like a huge misconception around that.
Great question. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of people that give us a hard time that, oh, you're going to give people cancer, you're going to cause strokes, whatever it is. You know, even the WHO, they have, what is it, the International Agency for Cancer Research. They say, hey, there's no evidence that nicotine causes cancer. Or even the U.S. Surgeon General, no evidence that nicotine causes cancer.
Yeah.
So, you know, this isn't from us.
Yeah.
Not our opinion, but, you know, the people at the top of medical opinions say that there's no evidence nicotine causes cancer.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can look at, there's some interesting models for rodents. You know, we don't have long-term science on humans using nicotine because it's honestly brand new, right? Like Zyn kind of launched that.
Yeah.
So we can totally get into that science if you want to, but, you know, it seems that humans metabolize nicotine pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, we actually probably metabolize it better than like caffeine, for example. So if you're getting like the half-life of caffeine, you know, that can be 5 to 6 hours. Whereas nicotine, for most people, 1 to 2 hours. You know, a guy like you, probably 45 minutes.
Yeah. A little bit of a higher tolerance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Liver's a little bit bigger.
Well, it's actually nice to know because that's the issue with caffeine is like a lot of times I'll find myself needing to bang out some work at like 7, 8 o'clock at the office. I'm a little bit tired. I could use a little bit of stimulation, but I don't want to drink a cup of coffee because that's going to be in my system the entire night. Where it's like something like one of these mints, I could throw one in and I could still go to bed by like 10 o'clock and it'll be out of my system.
Totally. Yeah, nicotine's really interesting. There's something called Nesbitt's paradox. And so with caffeine, you hit a threshold and then you start to get into that like really high cortisol area. You get shaky or, you know, you have some degradation in performance at a certain level. Nicotine's really fascinating because when you do too much, it actually has a negative reaction. So when nicotine first goes into the body, you have this increase in dopamine, which from has a lot of negative associations right now. But generally speaking, a little bit of dopamine keeps you awake. That's part of the stimulant effect. Obviously, nicotine is known to also stimulate the acetylcholine pathway. So both those things kind of contribute to more neurological activity. But what's interesting is when the nicotine levels go too high, then you start to see and actually like kind of a slowdown. And that's why some people use nicotine to relax as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. And so, yeah, you don't get that like crazy overload like you do with caffeine. It's kind of interesting.
It's pretty cool how there's like 2 distinct use cases for it too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's an unusual compound. Usually most compounds go one direction.